Ready your Codex Astartes and finish writing your Oaths of Moment. It's time to stand true to all that it means to be an Ultramarine. Courage and honor for the 13th.
Hello there. In this video, we'll be showing you how to paint your Lieutenant from the Augustus box set in the colors of the Ultramarines.
By following this guide, you can paint the rest of your Augustus box set with the same colors. We'll be painting quickly and efficiently to get your models looking great and on the battlefield in no time at all. The first thing we've done is undercoat our model, and for this color scheme, we've used Macragge Blue spray. We will also be using Macragge Blue from the pot to tidy up any mistakes that we make. The awesome thing about this guide is that it uses just 10 paints. Those paints are on the screen now. Remember that these are our recommendations. Feel free to paint your miniatures however you like. If you are new to painting or want to know the paints and techniques used in this video, check out our Citadel Color Painting Essentials videos in the description. For our first paint, we'll be using Corvus Black. We'll be picking out the ribbing underneath the power armor, as well as the gun casing on the plasma pistol. We're going to use a medium layer brush. Take your time when applying over the ribbing. If you notice the paint getting onto the armor anywhere, tidy back up using Macragge Blue from the pot. Corvus Black is perfect for what we need, as it has a slight grey tone that will help with our dark shade later on. We will now pick out all the leather details using Mournfang Brown. These include the belt, pouches, holster, and the tassels on the front. Remember to thin out your paint, and once the leather areas are dry, come back and do another layer for good coverage. With the brown applied, you can see how it complements the blue armor very nicely. It's time to pick out all the silver metallic areas that we find on the model. We'll be using Lead Belcher for this. We'll be picking out the gun, the bionic arm, and various silver details around the model. If you make a mistake, you can always tidy back up with the previous layers. By doing this, you will keep your model looking nice and sharp, which will boost the overall appearance of your model on the gaming board. With the silver metallic details painted, we need to move on to the next metallic paint. It's time to pick out all the gold details using Retributor armor.
This will help to tie our Lieutenant into the famed second company of the Ultramarines.
Retributor armor is a fantastic gold base that should cover really easily. Remember, it's always worth doing multiple thin layers to build up your base coat rather than one thick coat, so once it's dry, come back and do another layer. We're using Retributor armor to pick out all the gold trimming that we can find on the model, as well as any Aquillas and the iron halo that you can see on the backpack. Before starting the next step, make sure to get a fresh pot of water, as we don't want to get any metallic flakes into the rest of our paints.
With the gold picked out, our Lieutenant is really starting to look like he's part of the Ultramarine second company.
We will now use Mephiston Red to pick out the lenses, wax, and jewels. Use a small layer brush when picking out these details. This is because we want to keep in control of where we place our paint. If you make a mistake here, don't worry, you can easily tidy up with the previous layers. A good tip when picking out the lenses is just to hold your breath. This will help to steady your hand when doing this detail.
With that stage complete, we are now halfway through painting our Ultramarine second company Lieutenant.
For the sixth paint, we'll be using Grey Seer. We're going to be painting the parchment, skulls, and plasma coils. We'll be distinguishing between these elements later on though, as we'll be using a nice contrast paint over the plasma coils and then some shade for the parchment and the skulls. It's now time to add some depth to our model. We will use Basilicanum Grey straight into the recesses of the power armor as well as the red details, and then we'll apply it all over the silver metallics and black details with a 1:1 ratio of Basilicanum Grey to water. We will also pick out the base details by applying it straight from the pot over the destroyed Aquila. We will now focus on doing the gold, parchment, skulls, and the rest of the base details. For this, we'll be using Agrax Earthshade. Wash this straight over all these details, but just be careful to control the application, as you don't want to get any overspill onto your other painted areas. If you notice any spills or pooling, then dry off your brush and soak up the excess with the dry bristles. With that stage complete, we have aged and have given our gold some depth. We'll now do a quick hack to give some nice glow to our plasma coils. We will use frost heart thinned with a ratio of 2:1 water and apply over the coils. We are painting down towards the edges to make sure that is where most of the pigment will collect. This will help to make the coils look brighter and hotter at the top. Once the first layer is done, then use frost heart straight from the pot and apply it just over the edges to further the effect, as well as adding a slight blue hue to the black details so they look like it's glowing. And there we go, our plasma coils are done. We're now going to move on to highlighting the power armor. To highlight the power armor, we'll be using Kulgar Blue. Kulgar Blue will act as a medium bright highlight that will help to make the armor stand out. However, if you want to push the highlight up, you can always do another highlight of Fenrisian Grey. Take your time doing this step. Roll your brush to a nice thin point and don't overload it. Use the edge of your brush where you can and glide it along the edges of the model. To edge highlight the power armor, we'll be using a small layer brush. This will help to control how much paint we are putting on the edges of the power armor. With that edge highlight complete, it has really helped to make our power armor pop.
As a special bonus, we will show you how to do the lieutenant stripe on the helm.
We are going to be using paints we've already used in this guide. These are Grey Sear, Mephiston Red and Basilicanum Grey. First, we will apply Grey Sear. As you can see, I'm marking out where I want the paint by drawing a line on the helm. To make it easier, remember to paint towards yourself when doing a line like this, as it is easier to control. With the area marked out, I'll now fill it in using multiple thin coats of Grey Sear to build up the colour. We will now use Mephiston Red and do the same process, but within the line set by the Grey Sear. A good tip here is to use the raised surface of the helm as your indication of how thick the red line needs to be. Once you've marked it out, do the same as before and build up the colour with multiple thin coats.
Our lieutenant markings are complete.
All that's left to do is recess shade around the raised areas using Basilicanum Grey as we did previously in the video.
There we are. Your Ultramarine Lieutenant from the 2nd Company is finished and ready to lead your strike force against all enemies of the Imperium.
You can see that our model is based in Armageddon Dunes, but you can base it in any colour you like. If you want to learn more about basing, check out our technical paints video on how to base your models. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!